Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Rosen, Assistant Director of PredictIt, to discuss what the stock market of politics is pricing in for Tier 2 races as we linger between primary season and midterm elections. Ethan, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. Explain to us what a Tier 2 race is and what's the first one that you're looking at?
Sure. So that is a terminology that is sometimes applied to these races where they're not considered essential battleground states. One party is kind of heavily favored, but at the same time, both parties have their eye on it as being potentially competitive. So three of the ones that we're looking at today are Colorado, Washington, and Texas, and I thought we could start in Washington. So this is a race, as you can see, predicted traders have it priced at about 90 to 10. So not particularly competitive, but there was a poll today that showed it within about 2 points, although predicted traders seem to think that's an outlier. This is one where Republicans really have what they consider an all-star recruit. Tiffany Smiley, their candidate, is running as somebody who, she's really running in a lot of ways on her personal story, somebody who nursed her husband back to health after he was wounded in Iraq, somebody whose central focus is her family. But at the end of the day, the headwinds here are probably just too great for Republicans. This is a very blue state. They're running against Democrat Patty Murray, who's running on, progressive values, pro-schools, pro-choice, and the headwinds for Republicans may just be too much to overcome, but we'll see if they decide to spend here.
And when we take a look at Colorado, it's interesting because the Republican candidate there is running almost Mitt Romney style, meaning that is against conspiracy theories and trying to stay a little bit more center of the road than the more right slant that the GOP has taken.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a person who Joe O'Dea has forcefully rejected conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, about as anti-Trump as you could get in the Republican Party, somehow won the nomination in Colorado. He's running, oddly enough, as being not pro-choice, but pro-Roe. So definitely far more pro-choice than the average Republican. Republicans, once again, they really like the guy, national Republicans, that is. They like him as a candidate. The problem, once again, is that Colorado is an increasingly blue state. Michael Bennet is running as one of the architects, the Democrat running as one of the architects of the expanded child tax credit, taking credit for cutting child poverty, and as we've seen basically everywhere, trying to nationalize the race when it comes to abortion. So once again, I mean, this is a central problem, and it gets back to something we've talked about before. Republicans are generally unhappy with their candidates in battleground states. Two states where they're very happy with their candidates may just be out of reach for them because of the inherent partisanship.
And finally, let's move along to Texas.
So wanting to look at the governor's race here, you have Democrat Beto O'Rourke, who many people remember from his Senate run in 2018 and his presidential run in 2020, running against Republican Greg Abbott. Some people consider him a potential presidential competitor in 2024 or beyond. Now, O'Rourke, Democratic playbook, running on abortion, renewable energy, anti-gun, although in Texas that may actually be more of a liability for him than he seems to think he is. But Abbott is running on, if I could just in 2 words, inflation and immigration. Immigration in Texas as the border state is a huge one, and he is hoping that ends up being the predominant issue of the race. If it is, polling suggests that he will win, that voters are more sympathetic to his views on inflation than O'Rourke's.
All right. We'll have to see how it plays out with the traders versus the polls. Ethan, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you for having me.